Hey, what's going on everybody? Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. In today's video, we're going to be doing another tier ranking video, and we're going to rank a bunch of single cut guitars today, and I'll just give my thoughts and opinions about them and just why I like them and why I don't like them, you know how tier rankings work. So in this video, we're going to be ranking two shapes, basically anything that looks like a Les Paul, and I decided to throw a Telecaster into this mix because Telecasters are technically a single cut guitar, right? Alright everybody, so let's get started. So orientating you to my tier maker, we have tiers ranking from S all the way down to D. I don't know if I'll absolutely need a D tier in this instance. I don't think there's anything that I just absolutely dislike that much, but you know, it's there just in case, remains to be seen, okay? So before I pick out my first guitar, all I ask is that you subscribe if you haven't done so. In the words of Maximus, are you not entertained? Come on man, help me out. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much in advance for helping out the channel. Let's kick off this tier ranking list with a Epiphone Matt Heafy signature Les Paul with Fishman's. I'm gonna go A tier. Yeah, these are cool guitars, man. Especially for the genre of music that I love, that is hard rock and metal. Anytime somebody as prestigious and respected as Matt gets a Les Paul signature guitar, it's a good thing for my corner of the guitar community. And Matt absolutely killed it with the signature guitar. He's got two of them, black and white, both with Fishman's. Yeah, they look super clean, super classy and classic, but yet still have that modern flair with the Fishman's in them. Yeah, really cool guitar. Up next, let's go with the Gretsch baritone single cut. I'm gonna go in A tier as well. These guitars, like, they shouldn't be so great for metal. Like, it just doesn't, on paper, make sense, but like, it almost belongs in S tier to me. However, I'm really just not a fan of how Gretsch guitars look. Up next, let's go with the Kirk Hammett signature Spider replica from ESP LTD. I'm going to put it in C tier. Out of all the Kirk Hammett guitars that are out there, this is probably one of my least favorite. I don't know, just something about it. Everything from the big giant Spider to a floating Floyd. It just, I don't know. The pickup selector's in a different place. I don't know, everything about it, man, I'm just not really a fan of. Let's go with the Gary Holt, the first LTD signature guitar, S tier. This is one of the meanest looking guitars out there, man. Black and red with the red binding all over the place and the red EMGs. It looks absolutely amazing. Let's go with one of the new Bill Kelleher vintage silver burst satin is what we're calling this guitar. And after looking at the pictures on Sweetwater, I kind of like this guitar more. It kind of has that Norland era look to it, and it's not as gold as I thought it once was. It still is a little bit too yellow for me personally, but I'm going to put it in A tier. Really like this guitar, and yeah man, it's just a cool looking aesthetic. Let's go with the Marty Friedman Jackson single cut, the second rendition, the second signature guitar from Jackson. I'm gonna put it in D tier. This is one of my least favorite guitars, man. Purple mirror. It's a blatant copy of Paul Stanley, unfortunately. I like purple guitars, and if this was just like a plain old purple finish or purple color, I would like it a lot more. But the mirror, and especially the cracked mirror, too much for me. Let's flip the script here and let's go with the original Jackson Marty Friedman signature guitar. Now let's put it all the way up in S tier. I really like this guitar a lot, man. I had one of the X series when they first came out like 6 years ago, and I love the just huge like binding bevel thing that's going on with this guitar. Where the black and the white meet, there's like a huge like, yeah, just a bevel. It's not binding per se, it's like this extra layer of the guitar, and I think that's a really nice touch. Match that with the knobs with the white kind of appointments, and the headstock actually works in my opinion with this guitar. All in all, I really like this version of the Marty Friedman versus the purple mirror, personally. Let's just go with the regular old Epiphone Les Paul Custom Silverburst, the one that doesn't have the teardrop. I'm going to put this one in A. This one is a very important guitar in the Silverburst and the Adam Jones and the Gibson and the Epiphone and the Les Paul camp. Like, there's so many different Silverburst like fans, and there's so many different Silverburst categories anymore, but this one I think is very important. It's the most affordable out of all the Epiphone and or Les Paul and or Gibson Silverburst out there. It fits the part. It's not a teardrop, but it does look the part very well, and they play great. I've had one of these on the channel. I really like the Epiphone, just plain old stock version of the Silverburst Les Paul Custom. Let's go with a Solar single cut. Let's go with, let's put it in B tier. Yeah, a very above average guitar from Solar Guitars. Not their best shape. I think I still like the Type S, the Type A, and the new Type X I think is pretty cool. You know, remains to be seen. Maybe I can get one on the channel. But the Type Gs, yeah, I think they're just like a very solid entry from Solar Guitars. Up next, let's go with the Willie Adler signature LTD. I'll put it in C tier. It's almost in D tier just because the graphics, the Lamb of God graphics, is a little too heavy-handed for me personally. I love it when a signature guitar is paying respect and homage, and you know who it belongs to in terms of the artist, right? But like, it's not a walking billboard. And I think this is a little bit too much. If it was like a more subtle, like if it was like a gray or like a black on black or something like that, I think that would look really clean. But the fact that it's just like so contrasty and just so in your face with the warbird, not really a fan of that personally. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Willie Adler and Lamb of God, and that goes without saying. So I shouldn't have to say that, but I am, you know. And I'm putting it in C tier. It's not the worst thing in the world. I just wish the graphic wasn't as prominent personally. This one's a fun one. This is an Eclipse Singlecut 8-string. I don't really even know where to put this. I'm going to put it, I don't know, I'm going to put it in D tier. I don't really think an 8-string Singlecut looks very good personally. I would personally never want to play one. And out of all the 8 strings on the market, I think this would be one of my last choices. Let's go with one of these rare and expensive ESP Gary Holts. The red one, the coagulated blood lava looking thing. S tier. One of the coolest looking finishes and 3D finishes of all time. If you guys have ever seen Gary Holt's rig rundown from like 2016, he has this guitar on that video, and it just looks so crazy, man. It looks really cool. And one of the biggest pitfalls with metal guitars is they try to be so edgy and like so like confrontational and so metal. I think this is a nice balance where like it's edgy and it's like it's intense looking, but it's not like corny or cheesy. It looks really, really cool, man. One of my favorite guitars of all time in terms of aesthetics. Let's go with the Custom Shop Steve Jones Sex Pistols guitar, bro. I love the Sex Pistols, one of the most important bands of all time. I'll put it in B tier. Yeah, I mean, it's like a mid-70s Les Paul custom replica with, you know, 2 pinup models on it. What's there not to like about it, you know? And it's from Steve Jones, just one of the most underrated just riff writers of all time. Let's stay with the punk side of things. Let's go with the Joe Strummer replica. The Clash, a band I absolutely love. Very knowledgeable on their music and their catalog and their history, but I don't really ever have an opportunity to speak on them in this channel because it's not very like hard rock. It's punk and it's a little different, but like Magnificent Seven, London Calling, Guns of Brixton, Clamp Down, Train in Vain, bro, Call Up. I love the Clash, man. But regardless, I'm gonna put this guitar in D tier. I just think it's not very pleasing to the eyes. Just not really a fan of it, and I really don't like Telecasters at all anyway. So like all that encompassing, unfortunately, I love Joe Strummer, just an absolute legend, rest in peace. I love the Clash, but this signature guitar replica relict Telecaster doesn't really do it for me. Ooh, let's go with the original Adam Jones Silverburst Les Paul Custom. It's not necessarily the guitar's fault, but I'm going to put it in D tier. What this guitar did for the guitar community, I think hurt the guitar community more than it helped it. Let me explain. Cutting right to it, people were literally going nuts over these guitars, and they were literally stealing them out of the backs of trucks before they went to dealers. I don't know if those guitars ever serviced. Anybody ever find those things? How f***ing stupid guitar players can be, bro. And these things were selling on the used market, and probably still are to some degree. Like, they were selling for more than like down payment on like a mansion, bro. Like, it was crazy, man. So for the original OG V1 run of the Adam Jones Les Paul Custom, I found it to be kind of corny and kind of cheesy, and just seeing how everybody started to like react to like the Silverburst explosion made me not really like this guitar that much. So yeah, it's in D tier. Let's stick with Adam Jones. Let's go with the Gibson Les Paul standard guitar. I'm gonna put this one, I'm gonna put it in B tier. This is a nice alternative to getting any sort of the custom shop and or limited edition Adam Jones guitars. However, it doesn't really look the best being a standard guitar. It just doesn't look right. It's a nice idea, and I get that they're trying to fill the void and fill the gap in the market there with this guitar. Just doesn't really do it for me. I put it in B. It's above average just because I love Silverburst and I love Gibson guitars, but it's certainly not my favorite Silverburst, not my favorite Adam Jones, and yeah, it's an okay guitar, above average, but in the grand scheme of things, not the best. Let's go with the full thickness Eclipse E2 from ESP. Boom, S tier. If I was to get any sort of production guitar from ESP, whether it's, you know, ESP, E2, or LTD, I think the full thickness Cherry Burst right here would be my favorite. Looks classy, looks the part, and it does the metals. What's there not to like? Ooh, up next, let's go with the Gold Glory Epiphone Jared James Nichols. Is it an S tier or is it an A tier? I'm gonna go A tier today, just because for the genre of music that I like to play, it doesn't really adhere all that well. It's close, but, you know, P90s just, it's close, man. A little too thin sounding and a little too noisy. But regardless, the attitude and just the tone, the tone in these guitars is absolutely amazing, man. And I personally don't even really like the look of a Les Paul Jr. per se, But obviously I love Les Paul Custom, so like this is just like a nice like hybrid, and it just works, man. I really like the Gold Glories. Yeah, A tier for sure. Let's go with the Grails from Wild Audio. So close, but I'm going to put it in C tier. So close to being perfect is what I'm trying to say. I'm not even really going to bring up the graphics with Wild Audio because like that's just how they look. You know, like it's just, it is what it is, man. The graphics aren't what make it lower for me personally. With the Grail, with the Singlecut from Wild Audio, I really am just not a huge fan of the big giant Viking horn that comes off the side of the guitar. If that horn in that single cutaway was a little bit more subtle, these guitars would be a lot higher on my list. Up next, let's go with the classic EC1000s from LTD. I'm going to put it in S tier. Every metalcore guitar player ever was playing these things in the mid to late 2000s, and that made me fall in love with them. I remember seeing somebody like Jeff Ling from Parkway Drive playing like a red one back in the day. It just looks really cool, man. I don't know. I also like the abalone. A lot of people don't like abalone, I found out, and I found that to be a little bit puzzling. Like, who doesn't like abalone? I think abalone looks kind of sharp, but a lot of people think it looks gaudy and just... I get it. No big deal. Up next, let's go with the Jim Root Signature Telecaster. I'm going to put this in B tier. Obviously not my favorite Jim Root guitar of all time, but it's an above average guitar, man. Very stripped down, very clean. Kind of like what I was saying in the beginning of this video where like, it's a signature guitar, but it's not a billboard for Jim Root or Stone Sour or Slipknot or anything like that, right? You know instantly what it is and who it belongs to, but it can easily be customized and altered to the player playing it and or picking it up in the store. It's a nice clean slate and a nice mod platform, so somebody else can make it their own. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's go with one of the new Greeny standards from Gibson. This is the Kirk Hammett one. You know what? I'm gonna put it in B tier. I was almost gonna put it in C tier, but I actually like this guitar. I don't even really like it per se because it's a Greeny. You know, I don't really like the whole like Greeny hype. I don't really understand it all that much. It's cool and it's like a legendary guitar with a lot of legacy, but like I just don't really like care that much personally. So I view this guitar as just like a nice, just pretty looking, you know, production model of guitars. What I'm trying to say is like I like just how this guitar looks on its own, and I'm not really like interested in the fact that it's like trying to replicate and pay homage to like the Peter Green Les Paul. All right, bro, 5 more. Let's knock them out. Arctic White, I'm gonna put it in C tier. I think at one point in time, I think I said I liked these a little bit, but I don't know. Something about the white bridge pickup like just kind of ruins it for me. If that was a black bridge pickup, I think that contrast would make it stand out that much more. I don't know, something about the white pickup just doesn't do it for me. I don't know. Let's go with the white and red Gary Holt signature guitar. I'm gonna put it in A tier. I think the black ones look so much better. And across, whether it's the Arrow, the Eclipse, whatever, man, just the black and the red, just, they look so mean, but not corny and not cheesy. Like, they just look awesome. The white is a nice alternative, and it still has that same vibe, but I don't know, a white body with red pickups just doesn't hit as hard as like a black body with red pickups. So yeah, I still love it a lot. I'll put it in A tier. The Art Series Epiphone Adam Jones Les Paul Customs, and this is all of them, whether it's the Veil Bees or this one, the Molly Hatchet one, whatever this one's called, and any other ones that haven't been released yet, I'm gonna put it in, I'll put it in B tier. It's almost an A tier for me. And out of all of the Adam Jones guitars, this is probably my favorite, but I don't know, man. The Art Series, it's cool, but a little too much for me personally. I like things to be a little bit more simpler, as I keep kind of saying. So I don't know, a big giant graphic on the back of my guitar, although it's cool, I would, one, be afraid to ruin it, so I would kind of not want to play it all that much, and two, like, how do I know personally which one I want? I don't really have any attachments to any of the artists, so like picking one I feel like would be a little bit option paralysis. But regardless, man, it looks the part on the front. It looks the part of a Les Paul Custom. So yeah, B tier. And last but not least, we got 2 of the Gibson Les Paul standards. We got the 50s and the 60s. I own a 50s, and I like the 50s. So I'll put it in A tier, but I'll put the 60s in S tier. I think the title of S tier belongs to the 60s and not the 50s because the neck profile is slightly smaller and hotter pickups. My 50s Les Paul standard is fun to play and I absolutely love it, but the neck is giant, bro. And I don't necessarily hate it all that much, but after a while, like, that thing's a lot to handle. So regardless, man, I think the 60s an S tier, absolute gem of a production model of guitar from Gibson, probably their best in my opinion. And the 50s is cool too, bro. I like the 50s because it has the actual, like, real cherry burst finish, but regardless, man, yeah, enough talking about the the Les Paul standards from Gibson. So there you have it, everybody. There is my tier list. What do you guys think of my thoughts and opinions? Leave your thoughts and opinions down below. This was a lot of fun to make, man. Long video. I just hope you guys just enjoyed me, you know, ranting and raving about guitars today, okay? So like I said in the beginning of this video, be sure to subscribe on your way out the door. I am out of here. Y'all stay safe, stay healthy, stay metal. See you guys next time. Later.